Joining us now on the Fan Guest Hotline, powered by Gruber Law. He is Bill Shaikin of the LA Times. Follow him on Twitter at Bill Shaikin. Bill, thanks so much for coming on, man. Appreciate it.
My pleasure. How are you?
You big Ozzy Osbourne guy?
I was actually at Wrigley Field the day he delivered a less than stellar rendition of the National.
Yes.
I'm sorry, take me out to the ball game.
I remember that.
It was fun. It's always fun.
Yeah, always fun. Always made people laugh, and definitely going to miss Ozzy Osbourne for sure. All right, Bill. So it caught my eye, man. It did. Being in Milwaukee, smallest market, so forth. I never thought I'd live to see the day that somebody in LA would print a column suggesting the Brewers and America's team. Now, mind you, I know the Brewers were playing y'all, playing the Dodgers and all of this, but your angle and your take about what you mean by America's team, because I read the whole piece and I was like, that's where we're going. Explain what you mean by how maybe the Brewers could become America's team in all of this.
Sure. So what you're going to hear, you're starting to hear a little bit of it now, and it's going to ramp up toward the end of next year when the collective bargaining agreement expires and the owners have to decide whether they're going to lock out the players again, is ultimately, does baseball need a salary cap? Many of the owners are convinced that baseball does. So then the second question is, how do you sell a salary cap? And in terms of fans who don't care about franchise values and things like that, the pitch is competitive balance. If we have a salary cap, the owners will say, we can have more competitive balance because teams like the Dodgers and the Mets won't be able to spend however much they want, which they can do right now. And if you can convince everyone that by capping spending, you'll have better competitive results, that's a pretty compelling pitch, right? Everybody wants their team to have a good chance to win. I would say the evidence from the NFL tells you probably having a franchise quarterback is more important than having a salary cap. But nonetheless, that's going to be the pitch. So what do you do if you're the players and you don't want that pitch? What do you do if you're a fan who doesn't want a lockout that would be intended to get players to buy in? And the answer is, I think, look at the Brewers, because everything that we are hearing from the owner's side about fans don't believe their team can be competitive without a salary cap unless they are the Dodgers or the Mets or the Yankees, you'd have to say, look at Milwaukee. What team plays in the smallest market in the majors? Milwaukee. What team has the best record in the majors? Milwaukee.
I think that's all fair, Bill. And I saw this post last night during the Brewers game from Andrew Filippone. I don't know if you knew who that is, but he's a longtime sports talk host. He's been in Pittsburgh for a long time at 93.7 The Fan. He's done national radio and so forth. And he tweeted out, the Brewers are about to win their 11th game in a row. They're in first place. They've made the playoffs in 6 out of the last 8 years. They have a $112 million payroll. Why can't this be the Pirates? Is what Filippone tweeted. To which I come to you and ask you, when you make the argument of, well, they're in the smallest market, they figured it out, is it as easy as saying that? And why can't everybody else just duplicate what the Brewers do?
Let me put it this way. I'm out in L.A. Dodgers clearly have plenty of money to spend, and they're not shy about doing it. But if Major League Baseball put in a rule that everybody had to spend the exact same amount of money every year, so money wasn't an issue.
Right.
Does anybody think the Dodgers will be at the bottom? Or do we think that a team that has done well with analytics, that has done well with biometrics, that has done well with scouting, that has done well with player development, is all of a sudden not going to do well on the field? Of course not. In Pittsburgh and in Colorado, you have owners who are spending time complaining to fans about the economics of the game. And not to say all their issues aren't valid, some are, but ultimately in Milwaukee, Mark Attanasio is busy figuring out how to put a winning team on the field. And the fact that the manager left for a large market team and the president of baseball operations left for a large market team and the Brewers are still winning, I think tells you a lot about where the ownership commitment is in Milwaukee, as opposed to, say, Pittsburgh, where all everybody is talking about is Are they going to trade Paul Skeens? That's crazy.
Yes, that is crazy. Yes. Bill Shaikin covers baseball for the LA Times. Follow him on Twitter at Bill Shaikin. He's been doing it for a long time, and he's really, really good at it. Bill, let me ask you this. We had a chart yesterday that we saw, and the numbers were from Forbes, the revenue numbers for every MLB team. And then the person went to Spot Track to find payroll. And then they went through and said, okay, of the revenue being brought in, what percentage was being spent on payroll at the end of the day? The Mets were number one at like 90% of revenue coming in was being spent on payroll. The Brewers were at like 24%. And they were at like 41% of revenue coming in was spent on payroll. Do you think if there's a world where instead of saying, okay, we're not going to have a salary cap, but everybody's expected to spend at least 50% of generated revenue on payroll going forward, does that help to fix the problem, do you think?
It could if you agree on how to define revenue. So one of the stories I wrote about from the All-Star game, folks in Milwaukee may have seen this. You certainly see it around the Bucks arena. The big thing in sports now is develop the land around your venue.
Right.
So instead of the fans coming at 7 o'clock because the game starts at 7:30, they get there at 5. They go to a restaurant. They go to a bar. They stay after the game, do the same thing. And by the way, those venues are all open the rest of the year, so you can come every day instead of just a few days when there's a game. So owners love this stuff, and they're sharing all this idea with every other owner. They love it because not only do they make money that way, but they don't have to share it with the players. Now, if you put in revenue sharing, is that part of revenue? The owners would tell you, no, of course it's not. It's not from the baseball games that are played. It's not a broadcast contract. It's not part of ticket sales. And the players will tell you, well, of course it is. You know, the Braves didn't build it's called the Battery, their ballpark village, in downtown Atlanta. They built it right around the stadium because they have a built-in audience of baseball fans. So maybe the revenue from that should count. So that's where the rubber would hit the road. How much revenue would be going into the revenue sharing pot?
What about the idea of having a floor established? And if the top is whatever, 250 million. If they say, okay, the top's 250, so we are going to put a salary cap on it, but there's also going to be a floor now of 150, and you're going to cap it off on both sides. So the Pirates, you can no longer spend $65 million a year. You got to get to 150 or 140 or whatever the number is. Do you think the players would be willing to play ball if there was a floor raised up to, 140 or 150?
The owners proposed that last time around. The salary floor was less than 150. I forget exactly, but it was significantly less. And they did propose a cap, and that was also significantly less than what the players wanted. Now, the owner's pitch, and Rob Manfred has made this pitch publicly, is the system works great now. If you're a star, you'll get paid, right? Christian Yelich is getting paid by the Brewers. Juan Soto is getting paid by the Mets.
Ohtani's getting paid
by people all around the world. But if you're that kind of veteran backup player, the guy who we used to talk about, we need some veteran leadership for the bench. Those guys don't really exist anymore. That was Tony Clark, the union chief, at the end of his career. He wouldn't have a job today because what analytics teams do is say, let's not pay for what guys did the past 2 years. Let's pay for what we think they're going to do in the next few years. And if that's a backup contribution, aren't we better off as a team paying $700,000 to a rookie than paying $5 million to a veteran? So the pitch Manfred would make is we can bring back some of those $5 million a year jobs because the teams are going to have to spend their money somewhere. Whether the analytics guys would want that or they'd go in another direction, I think there could be some unintended consequences. But that would be the pitch for why the owners think the players should take it.
Bill Shaikin covers baseball for the LA Times. Wrote a great piece over the weekend about possibly the Brewers becoming America's team. And it all ties into what everybody is expecting to be some type of labor dispute after next baseball season, come next December, of some type of work stoppage possibly happening. So I guess then, from a player standpoint in the postseason, the Brewers winning a World Series in the postseason is the best case scenario for the players and the absolute worst case scenario for the owners.
I think the owners would be happy to tell you, okay, but how many times have the Brewers won the World Series? And this would be number one if they win, right?
Yep.
And they would say, well, how many times have the Brewers advanced deep in the playoffs? And they had the 1 year where they got to the LCS against the Dodgers, but really they haven't. But how do you define success, right? Because when the owners expanded the playoffs, that was the competitive balance thing. They call the luxury tax the competitive balance tax. Clearly, that hasn't stopped spending. But what helps is if you can sneak into the playoffs with 84 wins, like Arizona did a couple of years ago, you get hot in October, and you get to the World Series. The Brewers might be a great fit because what do we all think about October? Pitching gets better, runs are harder to come by. Brewers are perfect for that. Great starting pitching, great bullpen. They play the small ball that most teams don't, right? Everybody sits and waits for the home run now. They'd be a great place in October. Maybe it works, maybe it doesn't because of a short series. But if you're a fan, I think, more so than what a player or an owner might think, you're going to be like, I keep hearing that my team can't win unless they spend $400 million, and yet I see with my own eyes, go Brewers, right?
Right. Yep. No, that's a great point. Bill Shaikin covers baseball for the LA Times. Follow him on Twitter at Bill Shaikin. Bill, thanks so much for coming on, man. Appreciate it. Really enjoyed the column, and hopefully we get Brewers Dodgers in the playoffs at some point. We can talk again.
All right. Hope you guys get your George Webb burgers.
Yeah, that guy comes up today. We'll find out. Bill, thanks for the call. Appreciate it. There he is.
All right.
Bill, you betcha. Bill Shaikin, Fan Guest Hotline, powered by Gruber Law. One call. That's all. Think about that. That dude has worked for the Los Angeles Times for as long as I can remember, and he's dropping the free burgers if the Milwaukee Brewers win their 12th game in a row tonight with Miz on the mound.
I already explained